The purpose of this presentation is to provide information to European tissue establishments that are working towards implementation of the Single European Code for tissues and cells. It assumes that the audience is familiar with the European directives on tissues and cells, including Commission Directive 2015-565 of April 2015. The presentation will cover a short history of the ISBT 128 standard and the current global status of the use of ISBT 128. Information on ICCBA, the organization responsible for managing the standard, and its relationship to the World Health Organization, as well as a look at the implementation steps required for the Single European Code. And finally, an explanation of the benefits of introducing ISBT 128 alongside the SEC. The ISBT 128 standard was developed as a result of a trigger event that occurred during the First Gulf War. During this conflict, blood was sent to the war zone from many countries. Transfusion staff in the military hospitals faced a great number of challenges due to the lack of standard identification for blood units. Since there was no unique identification, the same donation number would appear on more than one unit of blood. There were no common product descriptions or specifications, and labels were in a range of languages with no standard layout, and there was no common electronic coding. Some units did carry barcodes, but these could not be utilized as there was no means of understanding how the data content was organized. All of this led to significant amount of wastage and real risk of serious transfusion errors. The issues highlighted by the Gulf War experience were not unique to major emergency situations. Movement of blood between blood centers on a domestic scale faced similar difficulties in many countries. Duplication of donation numbers in particular was a common problem, and lack of standard terminology could cause confusion. To address these concerns, the International Society of Blood Transfusion was asked to develop an international system for coding and labeling. Thus, ISBT 128 was developed and first published in 1994. The first national implementation of ISBT 128 for blood transfusion was in Estonia in 1996. It was realized that the system was flexible enough to cater for other donated products, and in 2000 the standard was expanded to include cell therapy and tissue products. The first implementation for tissue products was in the UK. Subsequently, the standard has been expanded to include coding for organs, milk, and tissue-engineered and advanced therapies products. Today, ISBT 128 provides a comprehensive system for the identification and coding of medical products of human origin and is widely endorsed by scientific and professional societies. The cellular therapy and eye-banking communities have agreed at an international level to move towards global adoption of ISBT 128 in their fields. Usage is growing, with 224 new facilities added in 2015. Today, there are 5,012 facilities licensed to use ISBT 128. Today, there are 5,012 facilities licensed to use ISBT. Today, there are 5,012 facilities licensed to use ISBT 128 in 78 countries. Whilst the great majority of these are blood transfusion related, the most rapid growth areas are in the cell and tissue areas. More than 50 million medical products of human origin are labeled with ISBT 128 each year. And the standard is endorsed by 21 scientific and professional societies, including the European Milk Banking Association, JC, the European Blood and Marrow Transplant Group, the European Eye Bank Association, and the European Blood Alliance. The world map shows the distribution of licensed facilities. Colored pins indicate the number of facilities in each country. The map is regularly updated and can be seen on the ICCBA website. In the European continent, there are licensed facilities in 35 countries with the distribution of activity as shown. And there are 283 tissue establishments and 20 EU member states licensed to use ISBT 128. ICCBA is the international standards organization responsible for the ISBT 128 standard. The organization was established and operates with the sole purpose of managing and promoting the ISBT 128 standard in order to enhance patient safety. ICCBA is a not-for-profit organization and is governed by a volunteer board of directors. Board members are experts in the fields of transfusion and transplantation, and board positions are publicly advertised. The organization has a small staff but is supported by a large network of volunteer experts. ICCBA held an initial meeting with the World Health Organization in 2007. In May 2010, the World Health Assembly ICCBA held an initial meeting with the World Health Organization in 2007. In May 2010, the World Health Assembly passed Resolution WHA 6322, which includes, among its recommendations, encouraging the implementation of globally consistent coding systems for human cells, tissues, and organs. ICCBA and WHO developed a joint work program to help support this recommendation, and in January 2014, ICCBA was accepted as a non-governmental organization in official relations with the World Health Organization. Moving now on to a discussion of the implementation of the SEC. This presentation was updated in late May 2016. At that time, there were approximately 240 working days until the 29th of April 2017, which is the date by which the legislation requiring the use of the SEC will be applied in member states. However, the Commission Directive exclusion for product in stock only applies to product already in storage on the 29th of October 2016. Thus, if a tissue establishment wishes to avoid having to relabel product in stock, they should really be aiming at applying the SEC to product labels by the 29th of October 2016, which is less than 110 working days away. This is a very short time considering the amount of work to be done. The necessary actions include, but is not limited to, deciding on which coding system to use, mapping products to the appropriate codes, designing labels incorporating the single European code, specifying software changes required, developing existing or purchasing new software, validating systems, and implementing the SEC labeling. Although tissue establishments need to move forward on this project, there are some challenges. The compendia and guidance documents have not yet been released by the Commission, although these things should be available soon. Of greater concern is that the timetable for transposition runs parallel to the implementation timeline, making it difficult for tissue establishments. Of greater concern is that the timetable for transposition runs parallel to the implementation timeline, making it difficult for tissue establishments to be able to take in consideration any additional requirements that may be included in national legislation. It is to be hoped that competent authorities will be sensitive to this and will ensure that no additional requirements are added, or, if they are required, that tissue establishments are given early warning so that they can build compliance into their projects. ICCBA has been working on SEC implementation plans for some time, and ISBT 128 users can benefit from this experience. Tissue establishments that are not already using ISBT 128 may also benefit from implementing the standard alongside their SEC implementation. Specific benefits for ISBT 128 users are: ISBT 128 is supported by many commercial software systems for tissues and cells, and the vendors of these systems are already working on SEC compliance. ISBT 128 is an improved coding system, so ISBT 128 data and codes can can readily be incorporated into the SEC, eliminating the need to map to EU tissue codes. ICCBA guidance documents for implementation of the SEC are already published. ICCBA will be providing educational support to ISBT 128 users, and the ICCBA help desk is available to licensed facilities. This slide demonstrates how the critical traceability information in the ISBT 128 data structures is dropped directly into the single European code. One of the requirements introduced in Directive 2015-565 was that organizations responsible for clinical application must record and retain the SEC. This means that such organizations must be able to accurately capture the SEC. To support this, ICCBA have developed a standard. To support this, ICCBA has developed a data structure to allow the SEC to be included within ISBT 128 barcoding. This label example shows the SEC added in 2 lines to the bottom of a standard ISBT 128 label. This label example shows the SEC added in 2 lines to the bottom of an ISBT 128 label. The 2-dimensional barcode on this label contains the donation identification number, the product description code, the division or split number, the expiry date, and the full SEC, allowing all of this information to be captured electronically in a single scan. Users of ISBT 128 pay an annual license fee to ICCBA. This fee is based on the activity level of the facility based on the number of tissue products distributed for clinical use. The widespread use of ISBT 128 in vendor products means that users gain savings which are likely to exceed the license fees. To summarize, the benefits of using ISBT 128 are that it is an international standard with growing usage across all medical products of human origin. It is supported by a large network of professionals from the transfusion and transplantation fields. It is regularly updated and maintained to support developments in the field. And it is incorporated as a standard feature in many vendor products, including equipment, software, and consumables. As such, ISBT 128 represents the future of global harmonization of coding and labeling for medical products of human origin. For further information, you can visit the ICCBA website or contact the ICCBA help desk. Thank you for your attention.